Thanks a million for coming to our Heritage Week event on the village shops on Siopa Áitúil. We're really excited about this, the official launch of this year-long project. And just want to draw your attention to Trisha, another volunteer who's going to be doing some recording today for us for the Heritage website, Louisburgh-Killeen Heritage website. Anyone who doesn't want to be included, that's absolutely fine. Just come and tell Trisha to take you out of that. That's no problem. And some video and some photographs. And I want to thank all of our participants today. We have Wendy from Wound the Widows down in the back. We'll be talking to her in a few minutes. Thanks, Wendy. And I want to say a massive thanks to Laura and Anne Coughlin as well for coming out today. We'll be talking to you guys in a few minutes as well. This is a huge collaboration project between 5 community groups. I'm going to hand you over to Elizabeth, who will explain more about that now. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's great to be here to thank you for coming to launch the village shops and Siopa Áitúil with its subtitle Community Resilience and Food Security, which I'll try to explain a little bit more about in a minute. I'm not used to this microphone here, it's kind of like voice into it. Okay, so slide What is this project about? Well, it is about the extensive heritage of village shops in our locality, looking particularly from the era 1900 to 1980, and significantly it covers the whole of the Killeen parish. We're thinking about the traders and artisans and all the different kinds of shops that there were in this area. There still are a few, of course, and there are some new ones too, which it's nice to be able to include in this, including the Melodies Brew outside, who aren't able to open today actually. So the traders and artisans, and we're trying to think about the ways that those shops in this locality assisted with community resilience, enabling a community like this to provide the different goods and so many different trades and skills, such skill really, and ability to make the things that people need to survive, food and other sorts of objects. And also thinking about food security. So that's an obvious phrase, I suppose, isn't it? It's getting used more and more now, the ways that if you can provide the stuff in your own community, you have greater security in terms of staying in bed, I suppose. And of course, that's a very important and sensitive subject. She's moved on already. She's way ahead of me. So this is a funded project, and we are very lucky to have the funding from several different organisations. I say the main funder is the Sunflower Charitable Foundation. That's main in terms of the amounts of monetary funding. However, this project would not have been possible, wouldn't have been realised without CALL, Climate Action Louisburgh Locality. And as some of you know, I've been working on behalf of CALL to bring in funding. And also the local authorities' Waters Programme, who are funding work in this kind of area, specifically focusing on biodiversity, but other sorts of diversity and community resilience through CALL as well. So I'm going to move on to the next slide now. So what will this project produce? Well, as Mary's already said, really importantly, it's about working collaboratively between the different community groups and organisations. So shortly we're going to have a welcome from Charlie Morrison on behalf of Killeen Community Council, and Killeen Community Council is hosting it, one of the reasons that we're in here. And then a welcome from Louisburgh Community Futures and Louisburgh Tidy Towns from Rosario Tiernan. And of course we have Louisburgh-Killeen Heritage, really importantly. And Paul, I've already mentioned. I left anyone out? I don't think so. So we're working collaboratively as all these different organisations. And what we're doing is we're collecting stories and memories. I say we are collecting. We're just about to start doing this because this project is literally just starting now. Some work of this kind has already been going on under the auspices of the Louisburgh-Killeen Heritage. So there's a start to this, and there's some great material on the website there, including interviews by some important local figures, one of whom I can see sitting here, about shops and travelling shops and so on. But we want to collect more of that really important information. Can you hear me properly at the back? I can just feel like a boom coming through. Okay. Can you overhear me? So this project we feel is really important for community engagement as well, bringing people together, thinking about these kind of artefacts, this fabulous display, and encouraging people to think if they've got any of these, and to be that we, the project, are interested in hearing those stories about these kind of items. It will also, in its own way, be a boost for tourism. The funding from the Sunflower Charitable Foundation provides paid work for a part-time project officer, and there will be a little bit more about that later on. We're going to produce a story map, sometimes otherwise thought of as a heritage trail, which identifies where some of the shops were, and to give a sense of how that functioned across the whole of the parish. And then also, as always, with these kinds of projects, the success of this project, and I'm confident that it will be a great success actually with the contributions that we'll get from the community, there's potential for future funding. So I'll just say a little bit more about what information we're gathering. So there's phrases that get used these days. One of them is intangible heritage. In other words, what you remember. Stuff that's not actually in a kind of material form. That's really crucial actually for this project, and it's unbelievably valuable memories and stories about the shops from the past. And there's also archival heritage, so shop ledgers, bills, posters and so on, and objects and artifacts, which are another kind of heritage. Just want to pause, go back to archival heritage, and just look at these just for 1 minute. So these are amazingly valuable pieces of archival heritage, and this is a shop ledger from Gomali's bakery in Louisburgh. Really, really valuable. And then we have some other ledger books as well, which have already been offered to the project for us to look at. This is a classic ledger shape book. This has been rebound. This is from the shop in Devlin North that Geraldine Mitchell, I see you come in at the back there, Geraldine, thank you very much, has offered us to be able to look at this ledger. So this is in a nice, safe, modern case. It's been looked after, which is great. And it's really full of really fabulous information about what people were buying and the dates and so on, as a ledger would. Some of them are more fragile. So some people know actually that I have a kind of previous life as a medieval studies expert, if you like. I don't know if that's the right word. And I did a lot of work on archives then, and I feel like these are as valuable as those archives actually, so I'm handling them as carefully as I can. I feel like I should be wearing cotton gloves actually to handle this one. It's very fragile. And that's why we're minding these up at the front here, because they're not really that robust for kind of leafing through. That's classic ledger shape. Also, that's also from Devlin North. And just the final one, and then I'll hand over to Charlie, is this kind of ephemera. This is Back of Ireland's book. And then some of these, which are just very, they might seem like nothing, if you like, to you. Well, not to you, I don't mean that, obviously you're interested because you've come, but to some people they might seem like nothing, they might be thrown into the back of a drawer or whatever, but this kind of material for this project is absolutely gold dust. So we're going to be encouraging people and appealing for people to have a look through their kind of stuff and see if they've got any of this that they might allow the project to look at, so that we can compile the information about how the village shops work. So that's my introduction to the project. There's a little bit later on about the next steps, which Mary is going to do, but for now I'm going to hand over to Charlie to give us a few minutes of welcome on behalf of Killeen Community Council.
Good evening. For over almost half a century now, the Killeen Community Council have endeavoured to foster and nurture a sense of place, a sense of community, a sense of pride, and a sense of achievement in this part of the parish. And with great success, I might add. And this building, the play school next door, the public toilets, the playground, the enhancement works around the church, the pristine condition of the burial grounds, the safety features along the road are testament to their efforts and their hard work. And when we were asked at a recent meeting to support this project, there was some misgivings in that some felt it might be a little outside the limit of the council, and it certainly was a new departure. So we did have a robust and, I must say, very honest discussion about the whole project before we decided in the end to support the project. And I must say we decided, I'm glad to say, without a division. So I am happy on behalf of the Community Council to express our support for this project, because I believe that it is well within the remit of the council to support this. It will have, I believe, if done properly, and I'm sure it will be, it will have a unifying effect on the parish. And I like it in that in the past the socio-economic conditions that brought about shops and traders and craftsmen and women did, I won't say divisive, but it did have an effect of a them and us mentality, in that the people out in the country had to collect money, dig it out of the land, collect it from the hillsides, save it from the meadows, pick it off the shore and bring it into a shop and hand it over to a man in a white shirt or a woman in a floral dress who had dry shoes on their feet every day and clean fingernails. And that created a sense that there was money always in the shop. On the other hand, the people who had to stand behind a few yards of counter day in, day out, often in trepidation, and hope that somebody came in and gave them a few pounds so that they could feed their kids, clothe their kids, and educate them. That again created an effect that there was always money out the country. So I would hope that this survey would expose the truth. And the truth is that they were interdependent. Just as the planter depends on the reaper and the reaper depends on the plant, one couldn't function without the other. And there was a commonality of purpose in that they just had to survive. I'm also delighted to lend my name to this project because I have a history of, and I grew up like a lot of people with the same colour hair as me amongst anecdotal historians, but to our constant regret, we did not record or document what we were handed down. And this will go some way to rectifying that wrong. I believe, like the oak and the adage, the best time to record history is the day it happens. And the next best time to record history is today. So we're lucky in this parish, in some respects, in that we already have a large volume of work at our disposal. We have, first of all, John Lyons' excellent work. Factual, correct, well researched and well presented. And then we have Jim Egan's book as well, with a more local theme here to Killeen. And we have, of course, the Killeen, and it has now been digitised and it is searchable just using 2 thumbs. We also have a little more light-hearted works in that we have Seamus McDaniel's book and Michael Lyons' book. And some of it, as my mother would say, you could take good pictures of it, but nevertheless, they are records. And we have my own 2 favourite books, Sister Helen Lyons' 2 beautiful works. Heartwarming and in some ways heart-rending, but well worth keeping and reading again and again. And those books, those works, become more important every day that passes. So, if history unrecorded is history lost. And I will add one caveat to my support for this project. One little worry, maybe unfounded, but it has to be handled sensitively. One man's village shop is another man's family home. One woman's commercial ledger is another woman's family heirloom. And we have to respect that. We have to respect everybody's privacy and everybody's right to privacy. I'm sure with the little decorum and common sense, that fear, that's, I hope, just in my mind, will not cause any divisions. That's about it for now. I wish you all the best. And slowly we'll go forward and just body around it. Go ahead.
Thanks a million, Charlie, and that's going to be really hard to follow, but was our like to come up and talk on behalf of Louisburgh Community Futures and the Louisburgh Tidy Town. So thank you, Charlie. Really beautiful words there.
Can I echo a resounding congratulations to Charlie, because he was a classmate of mine in school and we celebrated at the weekend, and my mind is just so opened from his lovely introduction of the project, which encompasses the whole parish but is based in Killeen and under the Community Council in Killeen. But I'd like to say that from my point of view, the parish, while he would have acknowledged there was more the countryside and the town, from my point of view, I have experienced living in both. I was reared in the town, in the city of Louisburgh, and am very happily living in the countryside for the last 40-something years. So I've seen life from both sides. Louisburgh Community Futures hasn't been involved in community development for as long as the Killeen Development Community Council. So the one thing that we are there for is to support the activities of other groups within the whole community. And that's exactly what we're doing here. If the Community Council in Killeen weren't able to support this and host this project, we were going to be next in line and happily ready to do so. But Charlie and his mates got there before us. But that's not going to make any difference for us in the long run, because I see this project as well as a very unifying one for both the shops in Louisburgh, the village shops around here, and as you can see from the artefacts on the table here, they're from various different businesses, some of them from the town, some of them from the countryside. And having spoken to the owners of those businesses in the last few days when I was bringing, for instance, Durkin's Till is just down there, and it's lovely just to pull out the till at the bottom there, and it gives a little bell, a little ring. So it was, you know, a security device in those days. If anyone pulled the till, they were going to take out money or put in money. But anyway, that's their beautiful meat press over here from Durkins, from Gala, that they'd take the bone out of the ham, put the meat in there, press it down, and then they'd have it for the shop to share with other people and to sell. The Louisburgh Tidy Towns has been working for ages trying to make the most of our town, get people to acknowledge there are places that need constant care. And every year they've been working slowly and surely, and the results are showing each year by the marks coming rising in the competition. But one of the projects that was suggested years ago was exactly what Elizabeth, this project, is doing now. It was foreseen that it would be just for the town. So we're absolutely thrilled as a member of the Tidy Towns Committee. I'm thrilled that it's going to be a full parish project. So we'll no longer be looking at just shops in the town. We'll be looking at shops all over the area and in the town. So I'm looking forward to maybe this time next year having a lot more information and maybe more artefacts available that people find in their attics or their sheds or whatever. And maybe we'll find the likes of that old ledger that sat in the bakery behind Michael O'Malley's house in town beside the hall. Maybe that will be rebound and will be brought to pristine condition again. And even if that was only one of the things that happened, that's important. So thank you all very much for coming today to support the launch of this project. And I say thank you to Elizabeth for all the effort she has put in from Paul's point of view, but also from the community, because she has become a very valued member of the community, herself and her husband and her family in the area. They're absolutely wonderful addition to the area. So thank you very much. And thank you, Mary, for all the work you've done, and Tricia, for the heritage, collection of heritage in the area. It's very valuable. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosaura, and it's just such an exciting project and collaboration, as I said, between so many different groups, and that's what we have been doing as volunteers. And you know, the Louisburgh-Killeen Heritage Group is a very small band of volunteers, but the only way we've been able to deliver the projects over the years is through collaboration with other community groups or individuals or families or whatever. So that's why this project again is really important. And inclusivity, which we talked about, and what Charlie and Rosaura also mentioned, is so important, that it is handled sensitively. And you know, if someone says no, I'm not, that's absolutely fine. This is an open and an ongoing project, and that's again, I suppose, the beauty of having a digital archive, that we have projects up there that were maybe put up in 2010 or 2012, and they can be added to all the time if some new information comes. The person who will be employed, there'll be a procurement process and all that later, but the person, what an opportunity for somebody, whether it's a retired person or a college student or whatever, to actually work for 2 days a week solely on this research project. But they will be constantly monitored, and the volunteers will be supporting them. And we're very lucky in Louisburgh-Killeen Heritage that we get a lot of training and mentoring from the National Museum of Ireland and the Heritage Council. And you know, any things that arise, we'll be able to go to those for support as well. So we've a good knowledge base within our volunteers as well. And equally from the other community groups that are involved, there'll be a lot of different skill sets there that will aid to this as well. And as I said, the open access website, you know, anyone can go on, they can contribute anything they want, be it a photograph. I mean, you might look at some of the artifacts and say, well, how would you show them on a photograph, and a little bit of a story or a history around them is the way how we would do it. And again, thanks to all who brought stuff today for display, to Rosaura for gathering stuff from the shops in Louisburgh, and to Geraldine Mitchell for the ledgers, Austin Francis, and Michael Salmon and Eamon O'Malley from Louisburgh Community Centre as well, who brought a van load of stuff, so I had to send them off with just a few bits that I took off for the table. But also to David and Kathy Gray down there as well for this beautiful It's the top half, I suppose, of a dresser, you can call it really, and all of the tins and everything were included in it, so it's a beautiful piece of work. You can have a look at it later. I just want to show you, back in 2012, we literally launched our website, and you know, Kelly's there in the Octagon in Westport, that was wholesale merchants, and James Fairplay had sent us a lot of billheads, and it got me thinking back then, which is what, 10, 12, 15 years ago, you know, we need to document the shops in the community. But they're a beautiful piece of history. I mean, that one up there now is from 1957, and it was to an A Lines haulage contractor. So again, while I have those on the website, I need help then to actually, well, who was A Lines, and where, what part of Chapel Street, Louisburgh, where was this building situated, and what were they hauling as a haulage contractor? And you know, there's a lot of information in a billhead that you wouldn't think, you know, that you'd actually gain a lot of knowledge from it, including, like, it's very hard probably to read what's on that. I think it says a load of turf, 12 pounds, so 12 pounds 10 or whatever on that. But again, and even that, we need help with the money and making up how the money was, you know, with the change in currency and all that. We have another one here from A.O. Grady, and it says ironmonger, stationer, grocer, seeds, dye stuff, paint, oil, colours, china, glass, and earthware, rods, reels, lines, and flies. I mean, that was your one-stop shop for everything in Louisburgh, wasn't it? But again, where was the O'Grady's shop in Louisburgh, and what building was it in, or who were the family in? Is there any family, you know, around, or relations that we can talk to as well? So there's a lot of information on that little piece, and there's a whole list down again. Obviously, it's very hard to read, it's probably on the screen now tonight today, but they're all safe there on our website from years ago, as I said. This one is so it's John McKevley, Benown, I think it is, bought of C.M. O'Malley, family grocers, wines and spirit merchants. High-class bakery on the premises, so I'm presuming that would be O'Malley's Bakeries, I could be wrong, of Louisburgh, of the Long Street there. But again, it's people within the community that have knowledge that would help us to put names and things. But that's from 1901. So, you know, again, we're talking about, you know, turn century, there was shops beginning slowly to, you know, emerge and be supported again, I suppose, by the community. But like that, a lot of those shopkeepers had probably other skill sets, or they knew someone out in the community that had talents and skills as well. And I just want to go down to the ladies for a minute and say thanks to Laura and Anne for helping the wool spinning today, because if the wool was spun and they made stuff, did they actually sell it in the shops as well, or where did it go? You know, that's the question we're looking at. And ladies, you've moved into the community back home from the States, and we worked last year together on a project with Traders on the Reef, which was fantastic, because your mother's father used to be a trader on the Reef as well, which is fabulous. But you've embraced moving back to Ireland full time, as in your own sheep, your own wool, and now you're spinning it. So it's like, we're talking about resilience, we're talking about learning some of the old traditional customs and actually putting them into use. And you attend some of the markets and Westport and Louisburgh and different places, and to sell the wares as well. But will you give us a demonstration of wool spinning and talk us through what you're doing?
Yeah, so it starts out like this. This has been washed once off the sheep. There's still little bits of grass and dirt and stuff in there. So then it gets carded, then that untangles the fiber, and it also gets out the rest of any dirt or vegetable matter or anything that's in there, and lines up the fibers. And then it gets rolled up like this, and goes onto the wheel, and then pull out the amount of fiber that you want, for how thick you want your wool, your yarn to be, and then spin the wheel and stretch this out at the same time.
Oh, where did you learn this, Laura?
I learned from a woman up in Killala. My great-grandmother used to do this, but my grandmother never learned. She used to knit socks. My grandmother did back at the 1940s before she left, to sell in the local shops to make some extra money for the family. But they would have used a great wheel that you push with your hands. These ones didn't come out weren't popular until a bit later. They're a bit easier to use.
And have you experimented with dyeing the wool?
I have, and a few of the pieces I have over here are dyed, and then some of them are from sheep with different colors. Our sheep have a few different colors. And yeah, people used to gather, forage materials to dye with. They used to use onion skins and moss and water from the bog and ferns, I think, to create different colors. And it required some complex knowledge of chemistry, because you also need to make sure that you're using the right mordant to get the dye to stick. So it was quite an involved process that people used to have to know. A lot of different steps they had to understand in order to make clothes for the family, and also a lot of people around here would have also made things to sell to make some extra money for the family.
You make it look so easy. She's a natural, isn't she? Pure natural. And if you just close your eyes and just listen to the rhythm of that, doesn't it bring back memories? For some of us anyways, because Mum Fair Play used to have the big wheel going in our house, but it's just that sound, that rhythmic sound. And again, I suppose most of this was done during the winter time, the long evenings, open fire, bad light, to get the garments ready for selling again. Do you say wet turf? But
and everyone's welcome, after we finish, to come up and get a closer look and touch things and everything. I know it's probably a little hard to see.
Well, I think it would be a long time as an apprentice for a able to do it that way. It's just like pure natural. Yeah, absolutely gifted. But we're glad to have you in the community. Glad to have you on board, helping us as well. And thank you so much for displaying today and showing us a little bit more about. Again, as I said, we know from our own story, my own family, that Grandma was involved with the ICA, setting it up and getting the women locally to start knitting yarn sweaters, and there was suddenly somebody who had a market for them, and they were promoting it. So it was a way of making an income, as on top of having all the daily chores of the farm and everything else to do, and big families to feed. So the shops, as we talked about, Charlie said, they were interconnected, and the hinterland depended on the village, and the village depended on hinterland. So that's where your shops kind of cross over again. And we're going to talk to Wendy for a minute down at the back. Wendy, I won't say another blue one, but you're very welcome to the community. You're part of the furniture. You're here quite a while now as well. And you've really embraced, again, more than the ladies, where you live, and growing your own botanicals and growing your own herbs and that to use in both culinary and skin products and that as well.
Absolutely. Again, it's something that's got lost to it, because everybody goes and just buys it already done. And even healing things, you rely on obviously the pharmaceuticals, which we all need, but there is things that we could use instead on minor things as well. So it's a history that's getting lost. I mean, your great-grandparents, I suppose, beyond that, probably would have made up their own salves and balms and tinctures and made teas from things, just from the hedgerows and what they grow in their gardens. Obviously the steel is a big part of heritage in Ireland, but we obviously use ours for distilling the hydrosol waters.
You would have known it for other purposes.
Not that I'm in the gym.
But it's true, when we were growing up, Mum would have handed down, if you were coughing, it was egg white and a bit of brandy, and that stopped your cough, and this kind of thing. There was all the natural things.
Brown sugar, or you have to use some honey.
And boiled nettles, and different things had different purposes and different uses.
I was just talking to someone earlier, and we were talking Christmas time about antihistamine, and they told me that it worked for them. Like what I kind of advise. So nettles is a great thing. It grows in abundance here. Yeah. So if you just try it. You've got nothing to lose really. Yeah. Double check if you think you're not allergic to it all. But,
Well, I can swear by her midge oil, it does work. Midge on oil, it does work, because they love me, but putting that on actually does help. Yeah. But and you also attend the markets in Louisburgh and Letterfrack and different places as well, and you have an online presence. But I think it's lovely to see more of the ladies here going back to our roots and looking at what was done, what we can learn from it, and how we can progress that. And again, it's talking about resilience going forward. What will be like another 10 years? We'll be all robots you know, or 20 years old, but where are the things that we need to learn from? And I think definitely a lot of us have looked back on some of the more natural things and growing our own, of course, as well, food resilience, and especially since 2020, it made us really wake up and realise, you know, there's a lot more out there. But Wendy's stuff is available to her to try out and come over and talk to her after if anyone wants to learn more about it as well. But thank you so much, Wendy, for coming today as well. And for
Oh, I can't make it work, but that's so the thing now. So the next steps for this project, apart from people carrying on with all the great work that they're doing, is that we will be putting out a description for the project officer role. And as Mary's already said, thank you for all that information, Mary, that you've given us. It'll be for approximately 2 days per week for a year in the first instance, and we will be a small team of people will conduct interviews, and we will plan to appoint a very excellent candidate, which I'm sure we will find, I think, from the locality. So we've already said, please start or keep gathering the artefacts and the information, and you can contact the project at the email address that Mary has set up for us. There's a little yellow card, it's actually over where the T is, which gives the key information, the email address and the website for Louisburgh-Killeen Heritage that you probably already know. So pick up one of those. The project is so kind of new that we haven't actually had time to get to the printers to do professional printing out of cards and so on. So that's a homespun little card, but it gives you the crucial information. So do keep in touch or make contact with the project. That's the next steps for us for now. I think then the immediate next step right now is to have tea, isn't it?
Yeah, tea.
So we're going to have tea now, and please do take a bit of time to look around this amazing display and talk to each other or to...
And spread the word. We're looking for stories, memories, artifacts. Someone, it might be so irrelevant that they think it's not even, you know, a point of mentioning, but I think everyone has something at home. And whether it's from a shop, that your family had a shop, or whether it's from your home, we can still document it, and at least it's recorded and it's kept, you know. And the hope is that the funding will stretch for the likes of ledgers like that, that we can get them rebound and safe and secure again, like we did a few years ago with the actual roll books in the schools. So that's the hope as well. But yeah, and if you have any ideas, or you know someone who might be interested in being the researcher and taking on the role, tell them to apply. Once we've it out there, you know, we'll have it open for a few weeks and have people apply and get involved. But thank you all so much for coming to Heritage Week. But again, like, none of these things would be happening without you guys in the community coming forward and supporting it and giving us information or getting involved with your hand up and wanting to get involved. So thank you to everyone, each and every one of you, for being involved in that. So give yourselves a round of applause.